Cambodian Life Activities, TCR. Morning with the Pigeons, a quiet encounter in front of the royal palace. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden glow over the city as I made my way to the royal palace. The air was cool and the streets were quiet, save for the occasional traveler. It was 7:30 in the morning and the world seemed to be slowly waking up, reluctant to leave its comforts of the night. I carried a small bag of baby birds, eager to spend some time with the pigeons that always gather on the riverbank in front of the magnificent royal palace. As I approached the courtyard, I noticed a group of pigeons swarming the sidewalk, their feathers glistening in the early morning light. They moved in unison, their heads bobbing up and down as they searched for food. I stood still for a moment, watching them. The tourist had offered them some corn kernels, but suddenly the pigeons took off, their wings flapping. They soared high into the air, circling in the air before gracefully landing on the sidewalk to feast on the corn kernels the visitor had placed before them. It was a fascinating sight. The pigeons seemed to be floating in the air, their movements smooth and effortless. When they landed, they softly clucked, their eyes darting around as they nibbled on the kernels. The guests continued to scatter more food, and soon more pigeons joined the feast. They came from all directions, some flying from nearby rooftops and others walking off the edge of the palace's roof. Soon, the guests were surrounded by a flock of eager birds, all competing for the food. The sight was not only a delight for me, the videographer, but also for the many tourists who had gathered in the area. The palace, with its magnificent architecture and historical significance, was already a popular destination for both national and international visitors, but the pigeons added an extra layer of charm to the experience. Tourists stopped to take pictures, as did I, their faces beaming with smiles as they watched the birds interact with each other and with me. Some even joined in, scattering their corn kernels and laughing as the pigeons flew by. The atmosphere was almost magically calm. The nearby river glistened in the sunlight, and the sound of the gently flowing water added to the serenity of the moment. The pigeons, now well-fed, began to disperse, some flying to perch on nearby statues while others simply sat on the sidewalk, happy and relaxed. I stood there for a long moment, soaking in the beauty of the morning and the simple joy of connecting with nature. As I turned to leave, I couldn't help but feel grateful. Thank you to the pigeons for the tourists who shared this moment, and for the serene beauty of the royal palace and its surroundings. It's a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful experiences come from the simplest of actions, like feeding the pigeons on a quiet morning in front of the palace. That morning, as the city began to buzz with activity, I filmed a video and brought back a sense of peace and memories that will stay with me for a long time. The pigeons, the tourists, the palace, and the river all came together to create a pure, unpolluted joy. And for that, I am truly grateful. Videographer and writer Shamramteng. So for new videos, please like, share, and subscribe.